On a quiet street at the edge of a small town, there stood an old house that everyone whispered about, but never dared approach. It had been abandoned for years, windows dark and covered in layers of dust. The locals called it the Whisper House, because late at night, when the wind was right, soft murmurs could be heard drifting from inside. One evening, a curious young man named Ethan, new to town and tired of the endless rumors, decided to investigate. He had heard the stories about the family that once lived there, about the strange disappearances, and about the night when the house seemed to swallow the last occupants whole. But he didn't believe in ghost stories. Not really. He grabbed a flashlight and made his way down the road, the air thick with the smell of decay. When he reached the house, the front door creaked open of its own accord, as if inviting him inside. The first thing he noticed was the cold. It was unlike any cold he had ever felt, sharp and suffocating, like the house itself had been frozen in time. He stepped cautiously across the creaky floorboards, his footsteps echoing in the silence. The air seemed to hum, a low, almost imperceptible vibration that rattled his teeth. The walls were lined with old photographs, faded portraits of people who looked both familiar and strange, their eyes unnaturally wide, their smiles too perfect. As Ethan moved deeper into the house, the whispers started. At first, it was just a soft murmur, like voices from a distant room. But then they grew louder, clearer. He froze when he heard his name, clear as day. Ethan. Ethan. He spun around, but no one was there. The temperature dropped another degree, his breath now visible in the dim light. The whispers turned into soft laughter, like a dozen voices in unison. Then one voice, deep and guttural, spoke. "You shouldn't have come." Ethan's heart pounded as he backed away, but his feet felt like they were stuck in place. The floor beneath him seemed to shift, as if the house was alive, breathing. The walls stretched toward him, closing in, and the once open door slammed shut with a deafening bang. He rushed to the windows, but they were no longer glass. They were dark, shifting shadows that reflected nothing but his own panicked face. That's when he saw them, figures standing just beyond the threshold of his sight. Dark silhouettes with faces twisted in agony, their eyes burning with an unnatural light. Their mouths moved in sync, whispering the same words over and over. "Join us! Join us! Join us!" With a surge of terror, Ethan tried to run, but the floor had turned to quicksand, his feet sinking with every step. He screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the house, devoured by the walls, the very foundation beneath him. And then, just as suddenly as it had all begun, everything stopped. The whispers, the figures, the suffocating cold, it all vanished. The next morning, the townspeople found the house as it always had been, undisturbed, its front door wide open. But Ethan was gone. No trace of him remained except for one thing. On the dusty floor of the entryway, a single photograph. It was of Ethan, his face frozen in terror, eyes wide and unblinking, standing in the very room where he had vanished. And under his photo, in faint, nearly invisible writing, were the words, "Welcome home, Ethan."